Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're taking a look today at the third generation Apple AirPods. These, of course, are earbuds that are totally wireless. You just put them in your ear like so, and they connect up with your iPhone. And you can listen to music, make phone calls, and they work with a lot of other devices too. We're going to take a closer look at these things and what they're all about in just a second, but I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that I paid for this with my own funds. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. No one is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see what these new AirPods are all about. Now, the price point on this is $179. This is, at the moment at any rate, the midpoint of the AirPod lineup. So at the low end, you have the second generation AirPods, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a few minutes. And then at the higher end, you have the AirPod Pro. Now, the reason why I went with these over the Pro is that I prefer earbuds to in-ear headphones. They're just more comfortable to me to have something that sits on the ear versus in the ear. And I like to walk my dog a lot, and I need to hear the traffic that's around me, so I just prefer to have something a little less isolating, and that's why I went with these instead. These actually have a lot of the features that you'll find on the Pro, including spatial audio, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, but they are not noise canceling. However, I have found, versus the prior generation earbuds, that these do sound better and they do isolate a little better because they have a larger earbud to them. So although the Stalk here is smaller, the actual thing that goes in your ear, if I can get it to focus here, is a little larger, and as a result, it just sounds better and more encompassing. The audio is bassier on these. It has a much more richer sound. So whereas the prior generation AirPods kind of sounded a lot like the earbuds you'd get with your phone, these do have a more premium sound to them. But one thing I've been noticing with these is that sometimes the bass on them is just a little too much for my liking, and there's no way to more finely tune the audio coming out of it. It does have an automatic equalizer that is constantly listening to the output and adjusting based on how this is fitting in your ear. But if you are the user, it's going to fit the same way every time, and I would really like the ability to more finely tune what these sound like. Again, for me, it's just a little too bassy. That said, it's not a deal breaker. In fact, the audio quality for music out of these is light years better than the prior generations. So if you are someone who listens to a lot of music on your AirPods, these are the ones to get. They are just that much better, and I hope they can maybe add a few tweaks so that some of the audiophiles out there can get things better tuned to their liking. The fit is also much better too. I was out running around with my dog and they stayed in just fine. The other ones stayed in pretty well too, surprisingly so, but these feel more snug. I don't feel them sliding or slipping around a little bit in my ear. They do seem to latch on much better, and unlike the Pros, you're able to hear what's going on around you at the same time while still getting a pretty rich audio profile out of them. So altogether, the fit and sound quality on these are very, very good and very high quality. Now, the setup on these is super easy. You just open up the case and get it near your phone or iPad, and it will detect it automatically. You tap on connect and you're good to go. You also have the option to use this as a Bluetooth headset with a PC or Android device or anything else that supports Bluetooth audio. The setup is very similar. You just open up the lid here and push the button on the back to pair it up. Now, there's some simple device controls on these too that you get to just by squeezing it. So when you have your AirPods installed in your ears, you just squeeze the Stalk here once to start and stop the audio. If you get a phone call, you can answer that call with that same gesture, and you can do it from either ear. And it's got a neat little click that it makes when you push it together. It's got a nice feel to it. Certainly a lot better than the prior edition that required you tapping the side of your head to do the same commands. You can also do fast forwarding and rewinding by double tapping or triple tapping, respectively. Now, they've also enabled always listening Siri support on these, so you can say, hey, you know who, and get your assistant to do your bidding without having to touch anything. Now, I was hoping for the audio quality out of the microphone to be a little better on these, but unfortunately, this is what it sounds like. So a lower fidelity microphone, once again. It'll sound fine on a phone call, but if you're on Skype or something that supports higher fidelity audio, the quality won't be so great on this. So just be aware of that. You might want to use another microphone if you're doing something for broadcast or a podcast. The battery life on these is a little better than the prior generation. You'll get about 6 hours of listening time, and they say about 4 hours of talk time. The talk time improvement is what I noticed the most when it comes to battery life. My first generation AirPods didn't do all that well. I was lucky to maybe get an hour phone call in. These are giving me much more longevity when I have a call to make, so that was definitely noticeable. But one thing to know about AirPods is that over time, that battery life degrades because the battery is very tiny in here, and once you charge and discharge it enough times, it will no longer perform the way it used to. So my pair here, which I've had for 2 or 3 years now, is starting to really not last all that long. I maybe get an hour and a half of listening time and much shorter periods of talk time, and I would imagine in a couple of years, these will suffer the similar fate. Now, the way AirPods have worked from the beginning is that there's a battery inside the case that charges the AirPods inside. You can usually get 4 or 5 full charges out of the battery in the case, and then you have to charge the case up again. The AirPods charge very quickly inside of it, so when they're completely dead, you just put it in for a few minutes and then they'll be ready to go again. They really are a quick charging little device here. Now, when you have the case next to your phone and you lift up the lid, it will give you an indicator as to the charging status of both the AirPods and the case itself. And you can charge the case in one of 2 ways. One is to use the included Lightning to USB cable, and you can charge it the same way you charge your iPhone, but you can now use wireless chargers with this. So if you have a Qi charger, like I've got here, you just place this down on top, and you can see the light just lit up to indicate that it's charging. And if we cut to my other angle here, you can see that the Qi charger has lit up as well. So we're getting a charge to this device just by placing it down. The case will charge a little slower on wireless chargers versus a plug, but it's something you can put next to your nightstand and just drop it down at the end of the day to ensure your case is always ready to go. This also works with Apple MagSafe chargers, and it will align itself automatically with the MagSafe magnets. But a Qi charger, anyone really will do. Just look for something that is labeled QI, which is the standard that this and many other devices use. Now, of course, these are an Apple product and they are integrated into the Apple ecosystem. One of the cool things is that this works with the Apple Find My network, and in some ways these work very similar to how an AirTag works. So if you are leaving a location and your AirPods are left behind, even just one of them, you'll get a notification on your phone to say, hey, your AirPods are not coming with you. You might want to turn around and get them. Another cool thing that it does is that it works with the Apple Find My network, even on the individual AirPod level. So if you were to drop this somewhere on the street, as long as it has a charge, it will report its location to any iPhone that it encounters, and you can load up the Find My app to track it down. So it'll give you a location on a map. And then when you get to that location, it will use Bluetooth to help you find exactly where it is. It doesn't put an arrow on the screen like the AirTag does, but it does put up an interface to let you know if you're getting hot or cold. And then when you're right on top of it, it will let you know that you're there. So pretty cool that they've got that integrated so you can maybe try to reclaim an AirPod that fell out of your ear somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Now, once you have these paired up with your iPhone, all of the other Apple devices on your iCloud account will also be able to access your AirPods fairly easily. For example, on the Apple TV, when I put them in my ear, I got a prompt on the television screen and I could just push a button to get the AirPods connected. And once I did that, I had private listening. Sometimes, though, I didn't get the prompt. So if you run into that situation yourself, what you have to do is just go into the settings on the Apple TV. You go over to the video and audio settings, go to audio output, and then you can set a temporary audio output. And as you see there, my AirPods were available for audio, and I was able to get going with that. It actually sounds really good on these with the Apple TV because these have a spatial audio feature that actually works really well with some of the Apple TV shows that have Atmos audio. So I was watching a few of the shows that were a little bit louder, and they really sounded pretty good. Not as good as my home theater system, but there was a really good sense of space. And you can also get that sense of space on the iPhone as well. So right now on my iPhone, I am watching an Apple TV Plus show that I don't want to show you because of copyright reasons. But if I pull down my control panel here and I tap on my AirPods, what I'll get here when I hold it down is an option here for spatial audio. Now, right now, it is set to head tracking. And I got to tell you, this is really convincing because as you turn away from the phone, the audio will sound like it's coming out from where the phone is in relation to you. It's really crazy. When I first started playing with it, I thought my AirPods weren't even activated. It works so well. So it's very convincing. But if you'd rather have the spatiality determined by the show you're watching, what you can do is hit the icon there and go over to fixed, and that will basically have it follow what the director was looking for when placing the sounds in space. Or, of course, you can just turn it off. One last thing to take a look at, and that is the settings screen that you'll find in your Bluetooth menu on your iPhone. I have automatic ear detection set to on so that when you put these things in your ear, it automatically connects to the phone. You also have a setting here for whether or not the AirPods connect to this device automatically when you place your earbuds in. And this is the one thing that you might have to manage a bit on some of your other Apple devices. So I always want it to be on my phone first, and then I want the option to use other devices later. It can only connect to one at a time, but it can switch back and forth as needed. So you might just want to have one phone be the automatic mode and the other ones be when last connected. Otherwise, it always pairs up with the thing you don't want it to pair with, and I'm hoping they improve that a little bit because I've been struggling managing all the different Apple devices in my home that are connecting to my AirPods at the moment. The microphone here is automatic. It can switch between the left or the right. You can have it lock into one of those if you want. It has optimized battery charging on by default to try to squeeze a little bit more life out of these batteries, so it may not always fully charge things based on what it sees your habits are. So that might be something to disable before you go on a trip where you want the most longevity. I have the Find My network activated, so if I lose an AirPod, I can find it again. And that's pretty much it for the settings. Again, I really would like to see some audio adjustments on here to tamp down the bass slightly, but beyond that, I am very, very pleased with these AirPods. They really are a nice product and a significant improvement over the last ones. And the AirPods in general were something that when I bought, I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to see how these things work. And they ended up being a product that I use multiple times a day for years now. And this is a very nice upgrade to a product that I was very satisfied with. So if you are a fan of the AirPods and you prefer an earbud over an in-ear, these are definitely worth checking out. Probably not as good as the AirPod Pros, but pretty close to it, and a very nice sounding and very high quality product from Apple. And that's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Hot Sauce and Video Games, Brian Parker, Chris Allegretta, Tom Albrecht, Thomas Anfang, Jim Tanis, and Handheld Obsession. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.